What's going on, everybody? This is Benjamin Bok Choi bringing you another F1 2021 video, and this one's going to be focusing on the weekly event that happened over the weekend and my first attempts at this current week's weekly event. So if you do the weekly events, I'm sure you know that it was a quali and race event at Silverstone this past week. I think I qualified 126th or 127th overall. Which is kind of lower than where I normally qualify in the overall charts. But like I mentioned in the quali video, I've decided to make F1 2021 strictly a no racing line video game for me. So this is my first weekly event where I don't use the racing line, and I was really nervous, but for no reason, apparently. All the excitement kind of happens right at the beginning of the race here. And that's really as close as anybody ever gets to me ever again for the rest of the race, right at the beginning there. So not really going to bore you with this race. I did go back and watch the highlights video that the game itself kind of records for you, and it was rather dull. So I'll put it up for you right now, and you can see pretty much all the action that happens in the entire race. So this is it right here, the highlights package that the game kind of puts together for you at the end of the race. Pretty good camera shot there. I think they just pretty much recycled the same camera angles that they did from the F1 2020 game. But yeah, that's about it. 5 seconds of the start and 5 seconds of the end. So we're just going to jump to this current week's weekly event, which is an overtaking challenge at Austria. And as you can see on screen right now, I'm just kind of changing a few things on the esports time trial setup that the leaders are using. So go into time trials. I mean, I guess you can pause this and kind of look at it yourself, but just go into time trial if you're on PC and load up whatever Frederick Rasmussen or Barry Borman is using. That's pretty much what I use, and then I just changed some of the settings by 1 or 2, and that's pretty much it. So here you are, you're playing as Lando Norris, 11 laps to get from P7 to P3. Right away, you're trying to get into Alonso's DRS. Some of you quicker guys will probably get past some of these cars a little bit quicker than me, but I'm playing at 95 difficulty here, and if you guys have seen any of my previous videos, you know that I did used to race at 105 and above on F1 2020, but with the new handling model, it's just really taking me a little bit to get adapted to this new game. So what you really want to do is kind of change your racing line a little bit. The curbs aren't as friendly this year as they were last year. Braking on the curbs or accelerating on the curbs are not as quick as they used to be. You'll still see me use it from time to time here, but you'll probably also notice that sometimes I try to use the curbs on entry or exit, and the car just kind of wants to kick out a little bit. So we do get into Alonso's DRS here on lap 62, the second lap. And again, some of you quicker guys will probably get out in front of him or probably overtake him on this lap right here, but I just wasn't able to do it. And you'll see in the next couple corners how bad the dirty air is this year. It just washes you out wide. And you'll probably notice that I don't get any track extension warnings, like right here. I'm not sure why. I mean, I don't think I had changed it. I don't think you can change it. I think it's all set to strict. I mean, unless they programmed it to use the real life track limits. But I went off track quite a few times and did not get a single warning. You know, they might penalize you and just not show you. That could be the case as well. So At least for me, I never got an off-track warning. So we pass Alonso here on lap 63. Up next is Tsunoda. You want to get by him as quick as possible because he will eventually catch up to Sainz and get DRS off of Sainz. So getting out in front of Tsunoda before that happens makes your life so much easier. And also, you'll also notice Leclerc is catching up to you and Alonso really quick. He is insanely quick for some reason. Even at 90 difficulty, Leclerc was super quick, and I think maybe the programmers just programmed it so that Leclerc is really fast and ultimately passes you no matter how fast you're driving. But yeah, anyway, we'll focus on what's going on right now. We get into Tsunoda's DRS, and again, just using this straight to kind of catch up to him. He's a little bit too far ahead to really try and overtake going into this turn right here. So use the long straight to kind of catch up to him, and then use this straight to get by him. And we dive it down the inside. I assume he's on older mediums. His grip's not quite as good as yours, so it's pretty easy to kind of just go down the inside and crowd him out. So up next is Sainz, and you can see how close you are to Sainz right now. So Tsunoda was probably just a half a lap away from getting DRS off of Sainz right there. But we do kind of close up a little bit. Excuse me. Close up a little bit, get into DRS, and it should be pretty much the same thing that happened with Tsunoda. Use these two straights right here and these DRS zones to kind of catch up to him, and then use the straight in sector 2 going into turn 4 to overtake him there. And you want to get past these guys as quick as possible because Leclerc is charging up through the grid and he will eventually pass you. So obviously you don't want to fight with Leclerc. You'll see in a moment why. Like I said, I think he's programmed to be so much faster. I think his fastest lap ended up being almost like a 1:04.0 during most of my attempts. So that's just way out of my ability to set in a McLaren, so I didn't even bother fighting him. I'm sure you could fight him and then finish P2 and then get a better score, but like I said, I'm not that good. And so the reason why you want to let Leclerc just pass you without fighting is you can see that Hamilton now has a 5-second penalty. So he gets this penalty every single time you run this challenge. And fighting with Leclerc just slows you down and makes your total race time a lot higher than it needs to be. So it's probably easier to just let Leclerc go unless you're really fast and you can catch up to Hamilton and keep Leclerc behind you at the same time. But I'm not there yet. I did try to keep him behind in a few of these races, and my total race time at the end just made my score so low that I decided letting Leclerc go by and chasing Hamilton down is probably more efficient for me to get a higher score. So once he does get out in front of you, you can probably try to hang on and get DRS once or twice, but you can see he makes up a second and a half in like one sector on track, and I just couldn't keep up there. So yeah, no point in fighting him. Perez is going to DNF any moment now. Right now, actually. So you don't have to worry about Perez, and you move from P5 up to P4 just like that without having to even try. And then Leclerc will eventually catch up to Hamilton and pass him, or at least he did for me in all the races that I ran. And in doing so, he slows Hamilton down a little bit as well. So if you're at this point and you notice Hamilton's still 6.5 seconds in front of you, like he is for me right here, don't panic just yet. Don't quit and restart, because Leclerc is super fast for some reason, and he will eventually catch up to Hamilton and pass him before the race is over. So like I said, that slows him down a little bit, maybe a few tenths, a half a second. So that should help you out in the end if you're driving well enough. So Hamilton is still 6.7 seconds ahead of us right now. We have to make up about a second and a half at this point. And when Leclerc gets out in front of Hamilton, he slows him down by about a half a second or so. And then once Leclerc does get in front of him, Hamilton starts to slow down a little bit anyway. So don't panic if you're at lap 68 and he's still 6 seconds out in front of you. There's still more things that will happen during the race that should help you out. And then it's just always nice to finish these things anyway. I know it doesn't really record your race time unless you set a new high score, but I do kind of like to just keep track of the scores that I do receive on my attempts and see if I'm improving or not. What I've found that to help me is you can't trail brake quite as much as you did in F1 2020. So I think the programmers are trying to gear this game more towards like iRacing and Assetto Corsa, more sim-like driving. So you can't really cheese the corners like you could in F1 2020. So really hard on the brakes in a straight line and try to get off the brakes before, or don't go into the corners so hard on the brakes like you did in 2020, or your brakes will just lock up and your car will just end up spinning out. Also, you can't really go down the gears quite as fast. Like I said, at least this is just for me. I couldn't just slam the gears from 8th to 2nd like I did in F1 2020 at a tight hairpin. Slower downshifts seems to help me out a little bit. Doing most of my braking before going into the corner helped me out a little bit, and I found that those two things, just those simple two things, helped me find a little bit more time on track. So I think they're trying to make this game a little bit less arcadey than it has been in the past, just because the game's kind of blown up in the last 2 years, especially with the F1 drivers doing their virtual GPs and whatnot last year. So I think they're trying to make this game a little bit more serious, and it's made the game a little bit more difficult, but I like the challenge, and I think I eventually will get a handle of it, so I'm not too worried. But yeah, as you can see now, we're on lap 70, and once Leclerc got out in Hamilton slowed right down, and he's at 4.7 seconds now. So I would recommend trying to save a little bit of ERS just in case you're really close to that 5-second mark and you're not sure if you're going to be able to chase him down. Having a little bit of ERS to use on the last lap or two should help you out a little bit. And since there's nobody out in front of you creating dirty air, you should be able to still set pretty decent and consistent lap times without having to use too much overtake. So now I'm just using the rest of my overtake. Hamilton is only 4.5 seconds out in front, but just doing it to play it safe. But yeah, that's about it. This is really fun. I love these kind of challenges. I prefer these overtake challenges to the racing quali and race ones, like I mentioned in every single weekly event video that I do. I hope that you guys pick up one or two things that'll help you out in your runs. Like I said, 2,000 guys have played this so far. I don't consider myself a great player by any means, and I was still ranked 24th after this run, so I figured I'd put it out, see if I can help a few guys out, and it's a good kind of benchmark for me to look back on. I'm gonna up the difficulty a little bit every day this week. I got 6 days left. I'll see how high I can go with the difficulty and still complete this challenge. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this. Like I said, I hope this helped you out. Good luck this week with this event. It's really fun. If you haven't tried it out, I recommend trying it. Remember to eat your bok choy, and if you think I deserved it, please leave a like, comment, or subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave them in the comments section. I'll try my best to get back to you, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Oh, I guess if anybody was wondering, the previous week, the Silverstone race, I think I ended up 29th overall at the end of it all, after all the races were said and done. So yeah, 29th last week, and so far 24th this week. So yeah, all right, I'll see you guys in the next video.